The key to winning an argument: stay calm. The angrier and more upset you get, the harder it'll be for you to get your point across effectively. This takes practice, but the better rein you can keep on your temper, the easier it will be for you to argue effectively. If this isn't possible, remember to breathe while you're having the argument. It can be tempting to get out your words as quickly as possible and as loudly as possible. The more time you take to say what you need to say, the more calmly you'll come across. Keep your body language open and not defensive. You can use your body to trick your brain into being easier. Don't cross your arms across your chest. Keep them loose at your sides and use them to help you make your point. Don't raise your voice. Work to keep your voice even. Even if you feel like you want to cry, get angry, stay calm. Breathe in for a certain number of counts like 4 and then breathe out for an extra 2 like 6. This will help you to stay calmer. Let go of the need to have the last word. Before you get into a big conflict, remember that you aren't always going to have the last word, even if you're in the right. Be content with arguing your case well and effectively, even if it doesn't change the other person's mind. This will mean that the argument doesn't go on and on, as each side refuses to let go, as they want to have the last word.
Well, I heard you called somebody a pedophile.
Well, I'm sorry that Matt
fun.
probably looks like it.
Fun? I wouldn't take that as fun.
Humor, maybe not.
Say that shit. So this is the example.
Listen to
of
me
what
right
I
now.
do.
Amber.
This is the example.
Amber.
Just because somebody's 20 years older than me doesn't mean he's a pedophile. Hi, Amber. Shut your mouth. Hi, Amber. Shut your mouth. Do you understand me?
Amber.
Shut your mouth. Get the off me. Don't put your fucking And this is
Don't
why.
call my man a pedophile.
Getting in one last jab at the end of an argument. If you have a relationship with the person you're arguing with, and even if not, people talk and it might do more harm. If the argument has gotten to a finishing point, both sides have discussed their views and there's nothing more to say, just let it go. Take a time out. It's best to do this before you get into the argument, so that you and the other person have a chance to take a deep breath and get your argument sorted out. It can help you to create some space around the issue. You can do this with your partner, your boss, a friend. When the issue comes up that's causing friction between the two of you, ask for some space, then set a specific time to deal with the issue. For example, you and your partner get into an argument whose turn it is to do the dishes, which subsequently leads to a massive argument. Say to them, hey, I think this is something we really need to discuss, but I want some time to cool down. We can talk about it tomorrow. Having the time before you speak can be a good idea, as it will give you some time to cool down, and it might turn out that there's nothing really to argue about. Remember, you must always be open to listen to the other side of the argument. Usually, in all arguments, there is no one right side. Usually, there is just 2 alternative viewpoints. You'll need to be open to the other side of the argument and the view, even if you don't agree. For example, you and your boss get into an argument about the way your boss is treating you. He maintains that your attitude has been the problem. You think back, maybe your attitude has made things worse. A good way to end an argument can be to acknowledge that you have some faults and some part of the argument. A good way to end an argument can be to admit that you are part of the problem, while still explaining your behaviour was linked to and triggered by his behaviour. There'll be very few times in life when you enter a conversation with somebody who is actually dead wrong. Usually when it comes to things like discussions on racism or sexism, etc., you will never win this argument, because the other person will almost never be able to let go of their view of the world, that racism and sexism do not exist. Don't engage in arguments like this. During the argument, build positive intentions. To have the argument end well in your favour, you need to convince the other person that you have their best interest at heart. If you think that the argument will serve some purpose in the relationship, they will sense that and you have a better chance of getting your point across. Before you get into an argument, remind yourself why you care about this person and the relationship you have with them. During an argument, never say things like, I'm only saying this for your own good, I'm only trying to make you a better person, as you are going to completely shut them down. Be present in the argument. Being present means you recognise the other person's view. Instead of trying to race ahead to the moment the argument is over and you've won, pay some attention to the person's feelings within the argument. Always try to avoid having arguments in crowded places where both can be easily distracted. During any argument, always stay calm and get your point across as clearly and calmly as possible. Always lay out your points. The more clear and specific you can be, the easier it will be to get your side of the argument across. You really don't want to be vague with your points. The more specific, the better. If you're fighting with your boss, offer up some instances of times when he bullied you and how that made you feel. Him tearing you down in front of other people, calling you names, things he said behind your back. This is why things can lead to an argument. An issue in any relationship, you should document it so that you can show that it's a pattern rather than an isolated incident. If you're arguing politics or religion, make sure you know what you are talking about. You will need to bring specific facts to the table. and avoid logical fallacies. Remember, particularly when it comes to these types of subjects, people find it very hard to stay calm and give a rational account of their views. Remember to always listen. You'll need to really listen to the other person's side of view. An argument contains two or more different views on the same subject. In an argument, it is very unusual for one person to be totally wrong and one person to be totally right. To win an argument, you have to make sure that the other person feels that their views are being heard. When the other person is making their point, make sure to look them in the eye and to really listen what they're saying. Don't start formulating your answer while they're speaking. If you find yourself distracted or unclear, ask a clarifying question so that you can make sure you understand their point of view. This is why it is a good idea to have an argument in a place without distractions so that you can make sure you focus on the argument. It is also never a good idea to have an argument in front of other people. Always manage your reactions. In the midst of an argument, it can be really easy to let your argument get the better of you. You find yourself getting upset, maybe angry. This is perfectly normal. The best thing to do is to try and stay calm. It can be good to tell the other person how you feel. Say something like, "I'm sorry, but I find the fact that you think I'm lazy extremely upsetting. What have I done to make you feel like this?" Never resort to name calling or physical violence. These are incredibly harmful and abusive behaviours, and there is literally no reason to use either of those tactics. The only place violence is allowed is someone has physically hurt you and you are fear for your life and you need to defend yourself. You should also try avoiding treating the other person like an idiot, no matter what you think. Never talk down to them or be sarcastic, mimicking what they say or laughing as they express their concerns. You should always avoid certain phrases. Things like, "at the end of the day." This phrase is basically meaningless, but it has the ability to make your opponent want to punch you in the face. Never use the word whatever. If you're trying to have an argument with someone and you or the other person keep saying whatever to the points that are being made, you are engaging respectfully and need to postpone the argument to another time or indefinitely. You should never attack somebody during an argument on the way they look, the way they feel, the way they talk. Always keep the argument to the topic at hand. Never stray to personal insults. You should never generalise a conclusion that is based on very little or biased information. Don't rush to conclusions or arguments without gathering all the facts first. For example, your new girlfriend hates me even though I've only had one interaction with her. The problem here is that you only met the girlfriend once, so she could have been shy, she could have been having a bad day. You don't have enough evidence to decide that the girlfriend hates you and cause an argument over it. So remember to always stay calm, to get your point across clearly and calmly. See you next time, guys.